Hi Big Lap Bible, I'm Jords.
I'm Matt.
And we're our Sunset Journal.
We're full-time travellers. We're taking 12 months off work and we're trying to see as much of Australia as we can during that time.
We were on the same week on, week off roster last year, and we spent 3 months travelling northwest WA. During this time we bought our LandCruiser, and we plan to do a 3-month trip this year, which turned into 6 months, which turned into 12 months, and now here we are.
Yep. We're currently in the Daintree, just like Joel Fosside looking at folks. We're currently in the Daintree, planning on spending the next 6 months travelling down the east coast. We didn't spend too much time in WA because we did so much of it last year. Did the Gib, Penalulu, a lot in the Northern Territory, and then we decided to come over the East Coast as soon as we can to try and beat as much of the wet season. We plan on heading down, like I said, the East Coast, do the high country, Tasmania, and then shoot back east and try and do the Red Centre on our way back. Yeah. Our setup is a 76 series LandCruiser 2022. When we did the travelling last year, we decided to pull the trigger and buy one. I've wanted one since I was an apprentice. It's my dream car. The Troop is probably a better fit for what we're doing at the minute, but later on we both think that this car will suit us a bit more. Yeah, it'd be heartbreaking doing a lap in a Troopy and then having to sell it at the end. So we really didn't want to do that. We want to keep hold of this car for a long time. We'll take a closer look at everything at the end of the video and show you a bit more detail about our setup.
So we try to break our week up with a few free camps as well as a few caravan parks. We do prefer the free camps just because of privacy, and it's a bit more off-grid, which we prefer. We do stay in caravan parks a few days a week as well. They generally tend to be in the better locations, and because our setup's quite small, we can usually take quite a small unpowered site, so it's never too expensive for us to stay at a caravan park.
And it's a double-edged sword. We do a few days at a caravan park and we're hanging to get out bush, and then we do a few days out bush and you're hanging for a shower and a kitchen and running water, so yeah, we'd try and get the best of both worlds.
Yeah.
Probably one of the best camp spots we've been to is Windarabandi on the Ningaloo coast. It's cheap, you've got to be self-contained, which is we love. It's right on the beach. We wish we had a tinny, but yeah, it's really hard to beat, especially in the afternoons when you get glass offs, and yeah, it's a beautiful spot.
Yeah. I think being self-contained as well, it tends to turn a lot of people away as well. So it's never usually too busy there, which is brilliant.
Makes it nice when it's a little bit harder to get to, and
yeah,
a bit more rewarding.
Yeah. So we've only been on the road for 3 months so far, so we've still got a lot of Australia left to see. So far for us, our highlight's been the Gib River Road. It was just such an epic experience for us. It was our first big off-grid stretch. The waterfalls were epic, the hikes were epic. Wasn't too busy either, and the roads were actually pretty good for us, which we were quite lucky with.
And it was probably what we've been looking forward to the most, because it was the first thing on our lap that we were planning to do. So yeah, anytime we thought about doing the lap, it was always the Gib.
Yeah.
So
a bit of a bucket list item checked off.
We don't want to be negative and say that we'd never go back to a place, but Penalulu, we think we'd done everything that needed to be done there. It was epic, but the road in was shocking. We went quite late in the season, and I wouldn't want to do that drive ever again.
It was 53 k's from the highway to the visitor centre, and it took just under 3 hours, so it was relentless.
Yeah, I wouldn't. We're not saying don't go, but if we went again, we'd just get a scenic flight, fly over the top. I don't think I'd want to do that road again. Yeah.
We're both really, really keen to go to Tassie. I think it's just a broad range of activities: fishing, surfing, hiking.
Yeah, I'm a fly fishing tragic, so I really can't wait to go to the Central Plateau and do a lot of fishing and a lot of hiking.
And I'm also really, really keen for the Red Centre once we get there. So. Probably my funniest moment and Matt's scariest moment was getting bogged in the sand on the beach at Ganthium Point. So we picked a sandy spot that nobody else was parked in for privacy, and then we couldn't get out. Meanwhile, there were Yaris's driving on the hard sand in front of us out, so...
Looked like a good spot, but yeah. Definitely the item we can't live without is our percolator. We use it multiple times a day. We're both coffee fiends, we actually left it behind at the last caravan park we're at and managed to get it a few days later. It was still exactly in the same spot. So it was going to be a tearful question this one, but it's all good. Happy ending.
And then I guess the item that we've bought while we've been on the road that we can't live without now, we're new to the Soda Stream bandwagon, and in an attempt to not drink so much in the afternoons, we bought a Soda Stream, so we've been making sparkling waters every afternoon.
Yep. And another good thing, it helps with fridge space and not carrying as much rubbish around, so
not as much waste.
Win-win.
So we both work in mining, so we saved really hard for about 8 months before we left, and we don't plan to work on the road in the 12 months, so that goes. So we left on our trip aiming to do $800 a week, but since we've left, we've upped our budget to $1,000 a week due to the price of diesel, I think, at the moment, and definitely paying for camping a bit more than we thought we would be.
One thing we know now that we didn't know before we left is we want a boat. Travelling Australia would be way better with a boat, and we're a bit spewing that we didn't buy one before we left. I think if we were spending a bit more time in WA, we would have definitely. And probably towing a tinny on the gib scared us off a little bit. But in hindsight, we should have bought a boat.
So our favourite thing about travelling is probably just living simply, and then getting to experience new places and things together every day.
Every waking second. Our biggest splurge probably wasn't on this trip, but when we were travelling last year through northwest WA, we did horizontal falls, and it is expensive for the full day, but it's worth every cent. You won't regret it if you do it.
We did the humpback whales last year as well, and we did the whale sharks this year, and that is pretty pricey too, but that is an experience like no other.
One thing we haven't used yet is a hot water system to have showers with. I suppose because we've done the top first, we haven't really needed to have hot showers, and I think it's probably going to sit there for a lot longer and not getting used.
It's taking up space. So we weren't affected by lockdown at all. Work for us got busier during COVID, so we're very, very grateful for that. We were on our week on week off roster last year when everybody was in lockdown, and even though our borders were closed, we managed to do a fair bit of travelling through northwest WA, which is actually what made us want to do our lap in the first place. So very grateful and very, very lucky.
Yeah, definitely. a biggest tip, well, we're still figuring everything out, so we're probably not the best ones to give advice. All the gear and no idea, pretty much. But what would you say? Probably like wiki camps for us is just been so helpful. Yeah. Like you use it literally every day. The fuel watch apps too, they're really handy when you're trying to save a bit of money. Yeah, that's pretty much it. We've probably got the most basic front cab you can get. Last thing we wanted was clutter on our drive, so we've kept it pretty stripped back. Just storage for our hats up the top, and in the back we've got cargo net and clothes. We've ripped the back seats out for the trip, but we'll probably put them back in when we get back to Perth. We've got the Darche ensuite too, which comes in real handy if we want to have a quick rinse or need to set up the chemical toilet. We've got our bedroom, the Darche Ridgeback. We love it because it folds out two ways with another frame. There's so much more room compared to other clamshell tents. Probably the biggest thing with a wagon is storage. So these bags and these Kaon mounts are lifesavers. Got fire pit and some recovery gear in there. Chemical toilet, if you're travelling in WA, get one before you get there because you'll need it everywhere. And really once you start using them, you wouldn't go back to a hole in the ground. We've got the Bushman's upright fridge, which is awesome because Jordan's 2 foot nothing and using a fridge slide would be horrible. These Outback Gear Solution bags are the best things ever too. Just all the little bits and pieces that would otherwise make a mess of your drawers, you can keep them neat and tidy out the way. The solar screens are really good too, keep everything nice and cool, but stops everyone looking in. When you got your whole life inside of a car, you don't want people fizz gigging into your car and seeing what you got. This stainless slide is probably the best thing out of these drawers. Just got all the kitchen stuff here, cook off here, got the pantry and tools and spare parts and stuff like that. What else we got? The Kaon rear shelf is probably one of the best things you can get for the wagons for storage. Just gets everything up out of the way, and yeah, it's really handy. Makes use of the headspace in the car. And last but not least, we've got the Darche 270 awning. Lots of cover, and we've got a couple of walls we can zip up. It wouldn't get too bad. Haven't had to use them too much yet, but they're handy to have.
And that's it. That's our home on wheels. It's very simple and it's very basic, but it's everything we could need and more for this trip. We couldn't be any more obsessed with it.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Hope to see you on the road.